Hello, I'm Kathy Arndt, your host for New Day Federal Way. On April 24th, 2014, Mayor Ferrell held the second of this year's Neighborhood Connection meetings at Adelaide Elementary School. We had a tremendous turnout, with more than 180 residents joining Mayor Ferrell, City Council members, and City staff to talk about the issues important in their neighborhood. Mayor Ferrell shared positive news about Federal Way's growing economy. He talked about investments the city is making in our downtown, with Federal Way's first downtown park opening in July. He spoke about the mayor's Blue Ribbon panel that has been reviewing the Performing Arts and Conference Center, and described the city's Neighborhood Protection Initiative and Hotspots program to prevent distressed properties from harming neighborhoods. Deputy Mayor Gene Burbidge spoke about the role of the City Council in representing Federal Way residents. Police Chief Andy Huang talked about public safety and crime prevention. And Interim Public Works Director Marwan Saloom spoke about the Lakota Safe Routes to Schools project and other street improvement projects.
You guys, this is the second of what will be 6 neighborhood connection meetings this year. And I tell you, this is exactly the kind of turnout that I envisioned when I ran for mayor, when I was knocking on hundreds and thousands of doors over the last year, to get the people in this community to talk about the issues that really matter. One of the things I talk about all the time is government works best when it's a voice for the people. I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am for the turnout that we have here tonight. We're going to do 6 of these this year. And again, the key thing about these is we're going to come back and measure the metrics for the individual neighborhoods. The way I look at it is, what we're doing is we're taking City Hall and we're bringing it out to the neighborhoods. We want to hear what you think, but we also want to give you, sometimes when you deal with government, it's very difficult to find who's the right person to talk to. What's the process? And you sort of get the runaround. Well, you're not going to get the runaround tonight because I brought the supervisors, the people that head the departments, and they're going to give you straight answers. And we want to hear what you guys have to say. At the last Neighborhood Connection, I think we had 13 or 14 different issues that were brought up, if you count them out, and we addressed each and every one, and that's what we want to do. We may not be able to solve it tonight, but at least what we're going to do is make sure you have the information and give you a process moving forward. Okay, I want to talk about what we're up to and what our plans are, because we have really hit the ground running. But you have to act with a sense of purpose and a sense of urgency to get the things going that we need to do. We own 8 acres in our downtown. We are now on the tail side of the Great Recession, and things are really moving, and this is what I want to tell you about. Economic growth. I want to talk to you about this. Children's Hospital is coming to Federal Way. They are going to invest $15 million down there at the old Circuit City in the Costco area. That'll represent about 200 jobs. I think it's going to be about 26,000 patients per year at that location. Federal Way is becoming a centerpiece, a mecca for healthcare delivery. And so I actually was just having lunch with the individual who is the CEO for Franciscan Health Systems, and trying to get their healthcare facilities here, and really kind of treat Federal Way as a hub, if you will, for healthcare services. In fact, they're going to refer to it as the South Sound Children's Clinic. So people from all over the region are going to be descending on Federal Way. They're going to do everything short of surgery, but in my conversations with the CEO of the new hospital, I think that's in their plan down the road. So the mall, Commons Mall, they are investing $27 million. Now, I think a lot of us have watched with concern as that facility has aged, and we all know that we've been very concerned about what's in that store. Kohl's was the first step, and you see here with the grand opening up that side of the mall, that east side of the mall, by punching through that entrance, really brought a little bit more life, much more life. But they're going to do the same thing on the other side of the mall, and they're going to bring 50,000 square feet coming in September for Dick's Sporting Goods. So watch for that, because that's going to be a major investment. So we've got Kohl's, Dick's Sporting Goods. Last year, there was a 75% increase in the investment in this community. There was $136 million worth of investment in applications in this city. So things are looking great. From 2009, actually, to the present, we had a 25% increase in applications for businesses. So things are looking good, and that's why we want to be ready. Downtown economic development. I mentioned this before. The city of Federal Way owns 8 acres in our downtown, but it has been sitting idle. And that's what when I was at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon for the state of the city, I talked about the power of now. And I made that joke again about the hair being on fire, but we've got to move quickly because we have just let our downtown stagnate to the point where people have always wondered, where is downtown? We are going to do, that's the plan for down the road, the town square. This acreage right here used to be referred to as the AMC movie theater site. I thought it was very counterproductive to refer to our downtown by aged and old and closed businesses. That's now called Town Square site. In the short term, it's going to be this park. On July 4th of this year, the July 4th weekend, you are, for the first time in our city's history, are going to have a downtown park. And this is what it looks like. So what we've got right here on the left-hand side, the grass part is actually going to be much bigger. The council and I have been working with the architects. The designs are already approved. We are out to bid. I think actually as of today, we're starting to go out to bid for this $200,000 project. Over the years, we have set aside monies. I believe it's $2 million that we have set aside for this area to be a park. And that money has been sitting in an account. And I said, what we should do right now, see, we've been waiting to develop this. And this is a mixed-use property. I went back a slide here. This is a mixed-use proposal that we have been trying to get interest on. And my thought was, and the council's thought is, we need to move now and clean up our downtown, create a sense of excitement and beautification of our downtown so people could start to see it. And that's this step. And so that on that whole property, so July 4th weekend, probably July 5th, which is a Saturday, we'll have the parking there on the bottom left. Our farmers market is going to have a permanent home now, and it's in that bottom right-hand corner. We'll have a stage there. We've got courts on the upper right-hand corner. Thank you. It's really exciting. In fact, I'll tell you what's really exciting is to bring, when we first went out there and we were trying to figure out the last little details, I took my little boy Benjamin out there and took him by the hand. I thought, this is a park he's going to play in. This is a park that we're all going to be taking our families to. For lunch, we can have concerts. On the weekends, we can go out with the farmers market. And as time goes on, what we may end up doing, if we can get a developer to buy off on it, what we may do is redevelop that northern portion. But for the future, forever, we're going to have a park at least on about 50 to 60% of this land. And we'll take the balance of that money, the $2 million that have been set aside that has to be used for this kind of infrastructure. So that's the first thing, and so watch for that weekend. The next thing is, how many people have heard about the proposal for the Performing Arts and Conference Center? Let's see a show of hands. Right, we've all heard about it for years, right? And I think all of us can agree that we want development in our downtown, but we want to make sure that we do so in a fiscally responsible manner. That's our job. That's the council's job. It's my job to make sure that what we do makes sense from a bottom line. You have to do it with your household. Businesses have to do it. Right before I took office, I had about 2 months before I took office, and I was really struggling with this issue, wrestling with this issue about how do we bring the community together on this. We've got great people in the community, pillars of the community that are very excited and motivated on this Performing Arts and Conference Center. But the price tag is $32 million up front, and then the ongoing operations of it. So my thought is that what we really needed is to bring objectivity to this, some basic objective metrics. And working with the council, I formed what's referred to as the Mayor's Blue Ribbon Panel. And my thought was, let's bring the best and the brightest minds in Federal Way that do finance. People who look at pro formas for a living. People that if you wanted to go out to a bank and get approval for a loan for a business, you'd have to get their approval. And I didn't just want 1 or 2 or 3, and I didn't want people that had already stayed in a public position, because we all know sometimes that these commissions are it's cooked before, it's already decided before it started. I wanted true intellectual integrity, and so did the council. And so we got our dream team, the Mayor's Blue Ribbon Panel, and these are dedicated people in the meeting room. And I want to tell you who these people are. They're great individuals. Dave Berger, he's a retired city manager, redevelopment agency, and he was an executive director. Steve Lewis, retired president, Weyerhaeuser Real Estate Company. Scott Brown, director of operations at Paramco. He was, we needed somebody who had been in the hospitality industry. And do you remember when the Clarion used to be the Best Western? He used to be the general manager there, and he spent a career in hospitality. Because the PAC is not only just a performing arts proposal, but it's also a conference center, the most important part of that for a business sense. Then we've got Rob Harbster, who's the owner of Olympic Aerospace, Susan Streifel, CEO of Woodstone Credit Union Bank, Kathy Ferrari, Vice President and Principal Business Banker of Wells Fargo, and her office is in Tacoma. Pam Smith, she's the venue expert here, and she's at the Auburn Performing Arts and Conference Center. And then Brian Bullard, Vice President, Branch Manager at Columbia Bank, and Mildred Olay, a retired college administrator. And so, as I was thinking about the people that I wanted part of this, the number one requirement not only was expertise, but they had never taken a public position on this, because again, we wanted to pursue this in an intellectually honest way. The council has the authority to allocate monies and to move forward on this. It's not up to the blue ribbon panel to say yay or nay. It's up to the council to be able to hear the objective financial metrics about this and make a business decision. But we have been debating this for years. It's been paralysis by analysis. We need to make up our minds this year. Are we going to do this or are we not going to do this? And does it make fiscal sense? Public safety. I think that we can all agree, and I'm going to have your new police chief get up and give a presentation, but we can all agree that the number one role of any government is to protect its citizens. And public safety is critical. I spent 19 years as a prosecutor, the last 16 as a King County prosecutor, much over Norm Mailing. And I can tell you that we are dedicated to make sure, the council and I are dedicated to make sure that we put together the resources to protect your community and really address what I refer to as quality of life crimes. Burglary, car theft, those are things that have to be addressed, and that's exactly what we're doing. The picture right there on the left represents something that we are so excited about. My first week on the job, I actually went to a reception. I met a man who I've known for years, but I didn't know he owned this building. This is the John L. Scott building, directly across the street from the Sound Transit parking garage, to the northeast of the parking garage. And as I was sitting there talking about what our plans are going to be, he just said we'd love to have, and I've been talking about a substation in our downtown literally for years. I said we need to have the police come and go from our downtown and have a place in which they're much more visible. And I've always sort of eyed that area, and I didn't quite, well, clearly we didn't want to have to build another structure. He gave the city 2,100 square feet on the corner of that building. Those signs are there now. So next time you go up 23rd on the McDonald Street and go up the street, you will see the landmark sign and the sign on the building. We're going to hire. Well, I'm going to submit to the council. We're obviously, we've got a budget year this year, so we've got to really work through that budget and make sure that our proposals can be afforded. But I'm going to be proposing to the council that we increase the number of our officers by 5. We had started in a figure in about the mid 130s, and we got ourselves down because of all kinds of reasons down to the 120s. My concern, because I was involved in prosecution for years and years, is that we needed more boots on the ground. We needed more people in the position to be proactive, to go after car theft and burglary rings and that kind of thing. In Marine Hills, just I think 2 years ago, Marine Hills got hit tremendously hard by a burglary ring. And they had gone up that year, I think, burglaries by 23-24%. And so those numbers have gone back down because of special emphasis, and I'll have the chief talk about the kinds of things that we're up to. We are going to change the color of our police cars to black and white. I think we need to be much more visible in our community and send a message to people that are thinking about committing crimes. Don't even go there. We are on it. We're leaning forward, and we're going to be all over this. And so we're not going to do it. We're not going to spend any more money. We normally buy, in our replacement program, about 5 or 6, sometimes up to 10 vehicles per year. So as the new vehicles come in, they'll be black and white. So you'll start seeing that. But that sends a message out there. I probably knocked on maybe 6,000 doors last fall, summer to fall, and I met so many of you. And I could tell you that one of the things that I was really concerned about are our neighborhoods. The neighborhoods are the backbone of any community, and we cannot allow our neighborhoods to slip. We cannot allow our neighborhoods to fall. And you know what I mean. Over time, one house starts to falter, and then the other, and then the other, and then the whole street goes. Your home is the number one investment, financial investment for most of us that you make in your life. And so we cannot allow the neighborhoods in this community to suffer. And what we've had, and my real concern, what we've had over the years is a complaint-driven system. Now, I think that's wrong. And it's wrong on one key point, and that it pitted neighbor against neighbor. And if you wanted something to be done on code enforcement, you had to dime out your neighbor, and that's inappropriate. What I think we should do, and what we are doing, because the council approved the staffing for this, is much more of a proactive approach in which we go neighborhood by neighborhood by neighborhood and get an inventory of distressed properties, and the city addresses those. So that program is something that we are starting right away. We're hiring a new code enforcement officer, and when individuals go out to particular neighborhoods on either a complaint or where they're at, they'll be required to look through an area. Now, there are a couple things about this. Now, first of all, the city is not going to be the HOA at large. Well, and we're not talking about over, a grass that's a little too long. We're talking about literally garbage in people's yards. We're talking about things that are just simply unacceptable. But there are times in which, and I know that, we've all had neighbors that maybe have a health issue, maybe it's temporary or long-term, maybe there's a financial issue, maybe they're out of town. And so we're going to really start with much more of a kind of an arm around our neighbors at first. But then we're going to gradually escalate and try to figure out, okay, where are we at? And if we've got flagrant violations that are literally impacting the value of your homes, we will address it. And we're starting what I've referred to as a hotspots program, in which we have, sometimes in a government, you've got law, you have the law department and code enforcement, and then you've got economic development and the police, and everybody's busy, and sometimes they operate in silos. This hotspots is really operating as a group that comes together and says, how are we going to coordinate, and do we have a problem? And we've got 2 properties right now that are going to kick off and inaugurate the hotspots program, and we're going to drill down like a laser beam and solve it one by one by one. And if we've got an issue, we'll go there. But that's my commitment to you, and that's the council's commitment, that we're going to make sure that we protect and hold up your investment and your neighborhoods. The other thing is, in regard to economic development, in addition, I just go back to that just for a moment before I turn it over to our deputy mayor. I think it's important not to stand back and be on our heels and wait for things to happen. That's why we have separated out community development and economic development, and we're going through the search process for a new economic development director that will reach out regionally and nationally to bring investment into this community. And that's something that we're really excited about, and that's going to start here real soon. So keep your eye on that. So I'd like to say thank you very much for coming. You're going to have the opportunity to ask questions. I'm going to turn this over real quickly to our deputy mayor, and she can talk about the council roles and priorities.
Thank you very much. I'm just delighted to be here, and particularly I would like to say that I know I speak for the whole council, that we are all delighted that so many of you have chosen to be here tonight to hear what we have to say, the information we're going to share, and then also to give you an opportunity to share with us. So the council very definitely represents each of you, and we do want to hear from you. What are your concerns? What are your ideas? What kinds of things do you want to share with us? As part of that policy direction that we set, I might refer to an example of something that occurred a while back. The city became aware of some sex offender housing that was illegally established in one of the city neighborhoods. When the staff found out, they shut the house down because of the violations. Then there was research done on the issue and legislative solutions were developed. The council passed a moratorium so that there was no such housing approved for that period of the moratorium. And that moratorium gave time for the issues to be reviewed and discussed so that policy could be established, which would be protective of our neighborhoods.
Interim Public Works Director Marwan Saloom talked about the Lakota Safe Routes to School project being built near Adelaide, the annual asphalt overlay program, and information about how residents can apply for a NTS study to address safety concerns in their neighborhood.
Good evening. My name is Marwan Saloom, the Interim Public Works Director for the city, and I'll be giving you two presentations tonight. The first presentation is for the Lakota Safe Route School project. And I will just give you a little bit of background. First of all, let me thank you for your patience during the construction of that project. The project started a little bit late in the summer and was completed earlier this year. But what we had is we had two separate projects combined into one. The city applied for and received a $1 million grant from the federal government for a Safe Route to School project. That project entailed the construction of a sidewalk on the north side of Southwest 312 and the construction of a signal at 14th and Southwest 312. That was that particular project. The city also had a second project that was in the design phase, and that project mainly for the improvement of the intersection of Dash Point Road and Southwest 312. The city at that time, when we received the grant, we expedited our project and we combined them together and we went out to bid and we received the bid. The city project required the widening of Southwest 312, sidewalk on the south side, the improvement of the intersection at Dash Point and Southwest 312, and all associated improvement required by our comp plan, street lights, street trees, so on and so forth. As I mentioned, the improvement, mainly the curb and gutter and the sidewalk and the planter strip as required per our comp plan. The budget for the project, the total cost of that project was $2.8 million. As I mentioned earlier, $1 million from the federal government and $1.8 million city fund. The project is 100% complete, and we've been getting a lot of compliment from the public as enjoying the project, safe walking route to school. The school district was extremely happy. We received a poster that was displayed at the City Hall with all signature from the student telling us how important that project and successful that project to them. The next item I would like to highlight for you is our asphalt overlay program. And I don't need to tell you that that program is actually, you know that as much as I know that we have the best street in the state. Our street rate the highest in the state of Washington. We are the envy of many other municipalities. We are the envy because of our program. We are the envy because our elected official and council and mayor dedication to the funding of the program. We've been, for the last 15 years, we have a dedicated fund for that program, approximately $1.5 million that we've been able to select street and get street improved and overlaid. This year, these are the streets we have listed for the overlay. And if you've been driving on Southwest 356 and you've been driving on 320th, you have seen some construction going on at the present time. The project is underway right now, and what they are working on is mainly sidewalk repair and ADA ramp upgrade. As with all of our overlay project, the federal government require us to upgrade all of the ADA ramps as part of that project, and that's the reason we are doing it. As I mentioned that we have those list of the project. The last one on the list is Schedule G, which is the 320th Preservation Project. That project, the city received $1.1 million federal funding for that project, and therefore we had to bid that project separately. So we have two separate contractors, one doing Schedule A through F, and the other one doing Schedule G. Schedule G is mainly 320th between I-5 and 11th. Most of the work on that project, you have seen some of the work associated with the sidewalk repair, but most of the work is going to be done at night. We don't have any residential community within that stretch of the roadway, and therefore we're able to do most of that work at night. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
We are glad to be with you tonight, and we look forward to sharing some information with you that hope that you find it informative and interesting. And there are two takeaways from tonight's police department's presentation. One is, what are some of the things that you can do to better protect yourself and your family? When you leave tonight, I want you to walk away thinking, I'm glad we came, and there are some basic things that we can do to better protect ourselves and our family. The second takeaway is how you can partner with us to make our neighborhoods and our communities safer. I'm going to share crime statistical information with you and share with you what we believe pose the greatest risk to you and your family. And we're going to talk about crime prevention, how to make your home a harder target against burglars, and some of our initiatives to fight crime in our city. And lastly, Safe City program. This is where you partner with us. Overall crime rate. When you look at overall crime rate from 2012 to 2013, our overall crime rate dropped by 1%. It remained relatively flat. Other crimes main crimes that we tend to keep track of, aggravated assault was down 13% in 2013. Auto theft was down 4%. We are seeing an uptick in auto theft this year. Burglary commercial was up 16%. Burglary residential down 22%. We continue to put a lot of emphasis on preventing burglaries, and we're still seeing a steady, maybe slight reduction in burglaries even into 2014. Homicide is up 100% in 2013. It was a very unusual year for us where we had an active shooter incident where the individual took the lives of 4 people prior to police arrival. So that was an unusual year, but I could tell you that homicide rate in Federal Way is certainly below the national average. Larceny and theft down 4%. We are seeing an uptick with theft, and that's not just Federal Way. It's a regional state problem. We're constantly battling that. Robbery remained relatively flat, and sex offense down 9% in 2013. What I could tell you is that numbers not necessarily mean a whole lot. But what I can tell you is that Federal Way is a safe community. 16,000 people are murdered in our country each year. 35,000 people die as a result of traffic collisions. At the high point, traffic collision killed nearly 50,000 people roughly each year. Because of stricter laws about seatbelt, car safety, that number is reduced to 35,000. What's happening now because of technology, smartphones, we are actually seeing an increase in fatality collisions. And what they could measure statistically, last year about 3,500 people died as a result of texting and driving. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Roughly half of all fatality collision results from DUI collisions. Okay. So the reason I share this information with you, the greatest risk to you and your family, and it's always overlooked because it's not sexy, it's not glamorous, but traffic accidents is a leading cause of our citizens getting hurt. And statistically, for a law-abiding citizen like you, your family, your children, your grandchildren, statistically, if you get that nasty phone call during the day or evening time, it's going to be traffic-related. Unless you're involved in drug trade or human trafficking or something criminal, statistically, people aren't going to be coming after you. This accident here is 2012, a vehicular homicide. Suspect crosses the center line, DUI, and kills a woman she was 35 years old. Our Nick and Derek project, our mayor, council approved additional funding for us to do emphasis DUI patrol. This project, Nick and Derek, was named after 2 high school students from Decatur that was killed in a DUI accident on I-5 in Tukwila, and that was in 2010. So we named the project after that. Also, we're also including distracted driving with our emphasis patrol. If you're driving with a cell phone to your ear and you get a ticket from one of our officers, don't even bother calling the mayor's office or my office saying, don't you have something better to do? You know, other than to pick on innocent people. I'm telling you, it's a very dangerous thing when you're distracted and you're driving. That's so. Moving on to crime statistics. 2012, our department moved from Unified Crime Reporting to NIBRS, which is National Incident-Based Reporting System. So we've been at this 2.5 years with this new reporting system. It's far more accurate information. We're measuring 27 different crimes versus the UCR report, which measured 9. Then we get into, all right, why is it up? We get into a particular area. So this is kind of where you live, northeast, part of Sector 1. Then we say, okay, from here, then we even go further there. What I can tell you about your neighborhood from year to year, it didn't change. The numbers are relatively same. We have some handouts for you. And then we get into a reporting district. 91 is where the school is and surrounding area. Again, we look at numbers. So if we see a reporting district, why is the crime numbers up? We're getting into the layer. And then we get into analyzing data. And then we do emphasis patrol. And then I shared with you that auto theft numbers are ticking up. And we have one automatic license plate reader technology system in a patrol vehicle. So we are adding, the mayor wanted to add 2 more initiatives after our discussion to better combat auto theft. And with this technology, ALPR, an average officer running license plates randomly will maybe run 50 plates a day over the course of a year, maybe recover 2 or 3 stolen vehicles. Now with this technology, you're reading thousands of license plates on a given shift. And an average officer using this technology will recover between 50 to 70 stolen vehicles. What does that mean? It means when criminals come into our town, there's higher likelihood that they're going to get detected and arrested. Over time, we might even add more technology, but we're doing it just continue to add and see how that goes. Okay, burglary prevention. One of the things to make your home safer is lighting. So if you have lights with motion sensors, it's a great thing to have, but have adequate lighting around your house. Make sure your light bulbs are working, not out. But I want you to feel good about, we have really good people within the police department. These people are dedicated. We're working hard for you, and please do not hesitate calling me or calling our department if you need our help. Okay, Michelle is our crime analyst prevention coordinator, and she's going to do that, and I think the questions will be at the end.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Great. Well, I know we're getting into your question and answer time, so I'm going to run through these slides super quick. Safe City program, it's a great program. We encourage everyone to join. We want you to partner with us to help figure out who's doing crime. Give us a call. Give us a chance to see who's out in your neighborhood that you know not supposed to be there. So this Safe City program started back in 2007 with the businesses. It's a community effort with the business, residents, police. There's a lot of talk about the surveillance cameras, which are great. We have 39 of them, but what we really love is our business watch type website and our residents website. And so it's great. You can get a group of your neighbors if you belong to an HOA or a block watch, get together, sign up as a group, one of our sectors. You guys are in Sector 1, and then you can exchange information about what's going on. Hey, my house was burgled. This is who I think was in the area. And a neighbor may say, oh, I saw this car in the area, or I saw this suspicious person the other day. And so after you call police and notify them, you can let your neighbors know what's been going on. It's great. We've had some great successes. Lots of homes have surveillance cameras. And so it just is one more way for us to try to combat crime, prevent crime, solve crime. We love it. And police department, many members of the police department also receive those alerts. And especially in the crime prevention unit, we're looking at those all the time. And here's just a couple examples of what an alert looks like. I did Sector 1, which is your area. And so I encourage everyone, get with their group. If you belong to a block watch, an HOA, get together, start a block watch. You have to sign up as a group, but it's very easy. crimereports.com is a program that I really wanted to bring to the police department. I use it where I live in King County, and I don't have a block watch where I'm at. They're just really not interested, my neighbors. And so what we do through our police record system, we upload all our crime to this map, crimereports.com. And so you can look at your house and see what's been going on for the last 6 months. You can see if there was a burglary, if there was a theft, if there was, you saw the police there and maybe it was a domestic situation. You'll see everything is up there. And so it's great. You can also sign up for these great alerts. So I contribute some of this to crimereports.com. This you can sign up individually. I encourage everyone to sign up. You don't even have to sign up. You can just visit the website whenever you want, but if you do sign up, you can get alerts just for the area that you're interested in, because you're not interested in what's going up way up north or on the east side. You want to know what's happening on the west side of the city. So that is great. And give us a call. That's the one thing, my partner Lindsay Thoreau and I, we just want you to give us a call. Call our non-emergency number. We don't care what number you call. Just make sure you call. Give police an opportunity to come out and contact that suspicious person, that suspicious vehicle. Because wouldn't you feel really horrible if you saw a suspicious person or vehicle in your neighborhood and then you found out that, oh, my neighbor was burglarized. Maybe we could have caught someone. Maybe you could have prevented it. But because someone didn't call, we didn't have the opportunity to know, and we come out after the fact.
All right, now the time for the most important part of tonight is to hear from you. But let's give a big round of applause to our staff for the great presentation. So we'd love to hear your comments, and that's why we're here. And Amy Jo Pearsall, our attorney, has a microphone. Anybody who has a question, just raise your hand. All right.
Hi, I'm particularly interested in that program you were talking about where your neighbors, they're having hard times and stuff, their places run down, they just can't keep it up, but it's really impacting your own personal place. I'm thrilled about that. How do I find out more information?
Well, it's a good question. So what we're going to be doing is we're hiring new code enforcement folks. So you can contact our office, my office, and that's what the whole purpose of this is. So it's sort of and we will take it. So it wouldn't have to be, sometimes it does help to obviously get it on our radar screen, and it will eventually get on our radar screen. But proactively, if you want to reach out to us, we'll get our new code enforcement folks out there. They'll reach out, and what we really want to do is activate the homeowners associations as well. Go ahead.
I'll just stay.
Go ahead, Norma. This is Norma Blanchard. Norma, would you mind standing so people can hear you and see?
I got this letter from the city, and it's concerning Mirror Lake Village senior housing between 10th and 11th. It's right up the street here. Can anybody give me a rundown on that?
All right, thank you. Patrick?
Okay, well, I have Isaac Conlon here, our planning manager, in case I need assistance, but I don't know that we have time for a lot of detail, and we can always follow up in person. But just to let anyone else know, as well as you, of course, that is a proposal for a senior living apartments and independent units at the address you mentioned before. So it's a proposal that's still in the review stage, and we are very diligent in making sure that it's the right fit for the neighborhood. So if you have a comment about it specifically, we invite that, and we could certainly meet and chat with you about that.
I'd like to address the burglary that's been happening up in our Viewcliff neighborhood. Over the last year, from June until now, my boat's been broken into twice. The first time was $11,000. Last Tuesday night was $19,000. I've called your department twice to have them come out. Oh, we're too busy, Mr. Berg. File an online complaint. They unscrewed the motion lights in the house last week. No lights. Nobody would even come out and take a fingerprint. Nobody would come out and do anything.
Have you touched those lights?
Have I touched them? I screwed them back in so they work. Okay. Your police department gets an F from me.
All right, well, they're here tonight. They've come to you tonight. And Chief, go ahead.
Why won't you help?
That's why we're here tonight. Well, and I could, I could certainly understand that. I spent 19 years and I dealt with people that were victims. Yeah. Right. So we totally understand your frustration. We're going to deal with it. We're going to investigate it. We're going to get those things printed. We've got the command staff here for the police department. You showed up at the right place to get it addressed. And
We'll look into that, but, you know, after the meeting, we will definitely get some information from you, and we will look into it.
But
We'll
I
try to-
understand, I understand your frustration, and I understand you're mad. But that's the whole purpose of this, so we can understand that. And this kind of thing cannot continue, period.
I don't
Yes.
understand. I'm Kay Murphy, live right across the street, have for a long time. I'm very interested in what light rail, when's that coming in this direction?
Me too. Everybody here in the room wants light rail, exactly.
You don't know, huh?
I know. Well, actually, you know what? We have, I'll go ahead and take it. Yeah, thank you. Well, you know, we have been working with Sound Transit for a long time, trying to get light rail to come down here. You know, we have actually got to a real critical stage, a fork in the road, if you will. Right now, ST2, Sound Transit 2, was on the ballot in November of 2008. Our council fought to make sure that it was going to come down to 272nd. Now, many of you likely heard that because of what they call sub-area equity, our area, because the revenues had been less than what they thought they were going to be, they retreated or pulled back to where ST2 was going to end, which is right in front of Highline at Pack Highway and 240th. So what we're doing actually on this Monday, we've been hearing from our Chamber of Commerce folks, we've been hearing from Highline Community College. Right where Highline occurs is where the alignment is going to be decided. And it's either going to go down Pack Highway down the future or in an I-5 alignment. I've been working with our lobbyist folks to see if we can get funding to get it back down to 272nd. And so I'm going to be going back, probably talking to some folks in Washington, D.C. to see if we can get that gap funding to get it down to 272nd.
Thank you. As a parent of a middle schooler and an elementary school child, the things that concern me in this town are what neighborhoods are safe for them to go into and what homes can I safely let them go visit friends and things like that. As I drive through Federal Way, I see a lot of graffiti. And so I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's kids just being mischievous. I don't know if that means that gangs live in that area.
A little bit of both.
And it seems to get cleaned up pretty quickly.
Right.
But it's a huge concern for me, and I wonder how much the city is involved with monitoring that and taking steps to stop it.
We're all over it. And I'm going to have Patrick talk about our graffiti removal program. But, you know, that's what's great about these meetings is that we actually have people on staff that can address graffiti. But we just need to know if it's out in the neighborhoods, if it's out there. With Patrick and I said, let's get this fixed right away. And so Patrick's going to queue up how we go about it. If you see graffiti around, we need to, you guys have my number, the 2402. You have our email addresses as well. Let us know and we'll get it fixed. And how does that operate?
Well, thanks. So, yeah, you can report that by calling, what is that graffiti number? Hannah? Yeah, 835-2617. Also online, you can report any kind of code violation, including graffiti. And so you had a couple questions in there which I want to address. One is that I know our police department does monitor them as well because they can be related to gang activity. A lot of them are not. They're just mischievous kids that love to leave their tag around town. Our basic program is to identify, if it's a commercial property, to identify the location, send a notice to that commercial property owner, give them a short time to notice they have a short time to clean that up, and they can contact us if there's a problem. We don't have the resources to go clean up ourselves every property in the city. That's why the commercial property owners, because they are running a business, usually have the ability to get the paint out and make that happen. For residential, however, we also send the notice, but we offer the opportunity for ourselves to be the ones that clean it up for you. So when we send that notice card out to residential property owners, we say, hey, we've noticed you have graffiti on your fence, for example. A lot of times people don't even realize it for a couple days. It might be on an outside fence, and they're not usually seeing that side of their property. And usually folks will just get rid of it right away. They don't want it any more than most people, you know. But sometimes they can't. The mayor mentioned earlier there may be people who have difficulty physically, or maybe they're out of town or something, and so they can ask us to do that for them, and we do that for residential properties.
Oh yeah, we've got over there, Ken.
Chief of Police, he had mentioned a police substation
Yes.
and hours of operation. I kind of want to know what the operations are, what the hours of operations are. Are they 24 hours a day? And what's the purpose of the substation?
The idea about the police substation is to make sure that police, instead of having to go all the way back to the department to take their breaks, write reports, interview witnesses, can stay local in that area. we're about to spend millions of dollars in our downtown. You're going to see Federal Way really rise in the next few years, and you're going to see massive investment. And what we want to make sure is that people, when they come to the downtown, have a sense of security and safety, and we're much more visible. And so that's the key thing. And so as far as operational aspects of this, I'll turn over to the expert, the chief. Go ahead.
Our downtown substation will not be staffed by anyone per se, 9 to 5, but we'll have officers coming and going. So if a citizen went by during the daytime, there could be a likelihood that the officers inside could assist, but there will be a phone outside, emergency phone, emergency number, as well as a non-emergency number that you could call for assistance if you get there and there's no officer that happens to be at the downtown substation.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the Creekwood development.
Yes.
I live on 308th and Lakota Ridge, so my yard backs up to a
Can I interrupt you just for a second? How many people are here because they're concerned about Creekwood? Can I see a show of hands? Creekwood, the development?
Yeah.
All right, I just want to get a sense. All right, go ahead.
Well, and I did want to thank you and your office for responding to my email with my concerns that having lived in Federal Way since...
Can I interrupt you just real quickly again? Can you tell everybody here that may not be up to speed, when we say Creekwood, what are we talking about?
Oh, the 24 to 25 homes being built in the, well, I call it a ravine at Lakota Creek.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, 3 feet, 0 lot line, something like a 0 lot line houses.
Well, thanks for that introduction, and thanks for your question, too. So just let me give a kind of, it's going to sound like a canned answer, but it's appropriate to answer it that way because this is a project that's still under review. So as you all probably know, we have all property in the city is zoned at some designation, whether that's commercial or residential, and then whatever the density of that designation is. That constitutes, generally speaking, the baseline of what someone considers their property rights to be. As someone owns a piece of property, they have a certain expectation that they can develop to a certain level based on the zoning that the city council has put on that property. So in this case, we have, in addition to the zoning designation, we have a designation of a critical area, which you yourself have identified. There's the ravine with the steep slopes. There's obviously the habitat, and at the bottom there's the creek itself. So because of that, there's an interplay between the zoning and the critical areas that reduces the development potential, usually from the outright potential that would be if it were just a flat piece of land, a square flat piece of land, where you might actually be able to fit in 24 houses with no problem and not raise any issues. So I don't know if they're the owners or the contractees, but the people that control the property have the right, and they've exercised that right, to come to the city and apply for the platting action for the 24 or 25 lots. We have a lot of work to do ahead of us in that process of reviewing that. That will require geotechnical analysis. That will require a review of the character and nature and extent of all the critical areas, because in our ordinance, it's required that every buildable or every lot be a buildable lot, that there's a buildable area outside the critical area, and that the access to that development and to each of the lots is outside of the critical area. So I guess the general thing to say is that we have a lot of homework to do to discover how much development is possible, and it's likely less than just doing the simple math on the size of the property divided by the density. And so since we're in the comment period now, we welcome all your comments, especially in writing, so they can be part of the record. So please do feel free to write us with your comments and concerns, all of which help frame the review that we're doing. And so you who live around it have more information than most anyone, so please let us know.
Very quickly, Campus Drive and 21st, there's been a lot of road construction, and it seems to have stopped, and it has stopped for quite a long time. I have to admit, I'm a little tired of driving over bumpy roads. Are we out of money? What's the deal?
That's a great question. I was talking to Marwan about this earlier. Marwan?
And we need 1 month of dry weather and we'll be done. So
good luck in this area. We were in the Today Show. Who watches the? Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. Who watches the Today Show? You guys. They were talking about the Northwest and all the rain. I think the March was one of the wettest months we've ever had. So go ahead, Marwan.
So we've been doing every dance we know how to get the dry weather, and it has been working. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. As a matter of fact, the mayor mentioned that. I just talked to him today. We may split the project. The contractor need about 2 weeks of good weather to do the work. We are Exactly. What they did is they suspended the project due to the weather. All what they have to do is grind the pavement and overlay. And then as part of the overlay, you have to adjust all of the utility and you stripe the roadway. So that's the 1 month I'm talking about. And when I talk to the mayor, you may see some activity in the next couple of weeks. It may not be a continuous activity where what we were planning on or hoping for is to grind and then overlay shortly thereafter. What we may have to do is grind and wait for the right weather to come in and pave. The challenge would be having 1 day of dry weather or 2 days of dry weather is not going to work for us, because what they're going to do is pave half the street and shut down. What we're hoping for is going to take them a full week to finish campus, 336 and 21st. So
They're contractually, the contractors are, and this is what I didn't know until today, the contractors are contractually obligated to, within a week of grinding it up and getting it down, they have to pour the new asphalt. And so that's why they need at least 2 weeks, but a couple weeks probably on either side. That's the whole thing. And so what we're talking about is freeing them of that contractual responsibility and just saying, hey, cut it out, get your first thing, and then we'll if it's separated by a few weeks, that's okay. But waiting for a full month is a tall order sometimes. Sir, you've been waiting patiently.
Jack Sherlock. This is for Public Works. They said the road up in Lakota is complete at 100%. If you look on the middle of Dash Point Road, there is a pothole. If you come across on the Chevron side, they've dug a ditch and then they laid it with asphalt. They didn't use any emulsion to bond the two together, and it looks like the asphalt is starting to sag a little bit. So the overlay, I think, from Dash Point coming towards 21st, towards the Starbucks, needs to be overlaid probably another 10 feet to make it nice and smooth, because I think it's a lousy job right in that area. And then on the other area, coming back where they make the right-hand turn, the transition is kind of dippy in there. It needs to be built up a little bit so when you come around that corner, you don't dip, because the water is running off on the other road, going to the right.
I'll be more than happy to go by this evening and look at that pothole. But the reason we did not overlay Dash Point Road, the responsibility for the pavement on Dash Point Road is the Department of Transportation.
No, this wasn't this is beyond the Dash Point. It's on the...
On 21st?
Yes.
Okay.
Where you tie in a Dash Point and you lay it over. It's got a little bit of a dig, and you can start seeing it's starting to break out a little bit.
We'll take a look at it. We'll take care of it.
Yes, in the back.
Yes, my name is Mary Ann Allman. I've lived in the area for 52 years. And a couple of questions that haven't come up tonight are, I know you're trying to get new businesses into Federal Way.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if anything is being done about the very vacant former Metropolitan Market. We could sure use a store in this area.
I know. We loved that. My wife Wendy and I loved that place. I mean, I thought our business alone should keep it afloat. But we all miss it. And I was, we are talking about trying to, attract a vendor for that location. It's got to make sense for them. It's probably one of the things I talked to Patrick about it before. And, we're going to get this new economic development director, and that's something that we can really go out. It's got to make sense on a dollar and cents thing. It's got to pencil out for them. So we've got to make sure that we can make a case. And if it's not going to be a grocery store, what else can it be? And we need to activate that, because obviously it was a QFC before that. It was, and that was a great store.
We don't necessarily need a Metropolitan Market.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily need a Metropolitan Market, but we really do need a store there with all of the apartments behind there, across the street.
Right.
And gas being the price it is, many of those people do not have cars. So a grocery store, I think, is really necessary there.
On that note, I think we should let our staff go home. You guys, thank you so much for coming out tonight. We're going to be around for a little while. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed the Adelaide Neighborhood Connection meeting. More meetings are scheduled throughout the city this year, and we invite you to attend one of them. If you have any questions or concerns you'd like the city to address, you can contact the mayor's office. Thank you for watching, and we hope you'll join us next time on New Day Federal Way.